You are listening to the Centropic Oracle, an audiobook podcast of science fiction and fantasy short stories that make you think and feel. Demon by Maureen Bowden. The vision started when I was a child. I saw families obliterated. I heard the screams of the injured as they lay clinging to life, and I smelled the stench of death. They left me trembling and fighting back tears. I whispered to my mother, "A demon's coming to kill us all." She took me in her arms. "No, child, it was no more than a nightmare." I knew she was wrong. It was a warning. One day, terror, pestilence, and destruction would descend upon our city. The visions stopped when I emerged from adolescence. I began to believe that they had been a childhood fantasy, but they returned after my husband died, and I was left to bring up our 12-year-old daughter, alone. I vowed to save her from the demon. I told her about it. "I know, Mama," she said. "I've seen it too. When is it coming?" "If we're being warned," I said, "we'll know when the time comes for us to leave." I saved as much money as I could so we'd have something to help us start a new life. I hid it in a pillowcase under a loose floorboard. We kept 2 kit bags under our beds, ready to be packed, and then we waited. 2 years passed, and then the vision returned in the night. I lay, trembling, my mouth dry with fear, but relieved that the waiting was over. When morning came, it would bring the demon. I called to Mai, but she was already awake and dressed. "It's coming," she said. "I heard its voice. It hurt my ears." We packed food, water, a few clothes, and our money, and then, hand in hand, we stepped outside, into the dark. The sky had started to lighten by the time we drew near to the outskirts of the city. For my sake, I hid my fear that we wouldn't have time to escape. My hope was renewed when we saw, at the side of the road, a 10-year-old Toyota showing its age in every dent. The owner had neglected to remove the ignition key and close the window. I put my hand inside and opened the door. We climbed in, I started the engine, and I drove. We'd traveled 9 miles when the engine spluttered and stopped. The tank was empty. "Have we come far enough?" Mai said. "Are we safe, Mama?" "I'm not sure," I said, grabbing our kit bags off the back seat. "We both have strong legs. Let's go." I glanced across the bay, to the inland sea sparkling in the early light, and my heart ached for the beauty of the landscape soon to be devoured. Shielding our eyes from the sun's glare, we set off, a widow and her teenage daughter, fleeing from a demon. We walked and jogged alternately to cover as much ground as possible, and we were about 11 miles from the home we'd left behind before we stopped to rest. We were ready to continue our flight when, from a clear blue sky, a boom, louder than 1,000 thunderclaps, tore through the silence. It came from the direction of our city. We were rocked by a blast of hot air, and we clung to each other to keep from falling. Mai choked back sobs. "What was that, Mama?" "The demon's breath," I said. "It's over. We're safe now." "Can we go back?" "No, child. We have to move on and make a future for ourselves." We couldn't go home. We were alive, but Hiroshima was dead. We hope you enjoyed Demon by Maureen Bowden, read by Larissa Thompson. If you'd like to learn more about the author and narrator of this story or make a donation to them, follow the story page link in the description. Pledge your support to us on Patreon for cool rewards and to help us bring you more stories. If you would like to submit a story for consideration or apply to be a narrator, a link to our submission guidelines is in the description.